Well, my name is Stephanie Chang, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Deputy Director for the Michigan Campaign for Justice. And since it was formed more than 3 years ago, the Campaign for Justice has worked toward a goal of reforming Michigan's troubled public defense system to ensure that all citizens, regardless of the size of their bank account, receive the defense service promised to them in the United States Constitution. Today, with the release of this report, Faces of Failing Public Defense Systems, Portraits of Michigan's Constitutional Crisis, along with our many partners in this effort, we aim to introduce real people with tragic stories who have been victims of Michigan's public defense crisis. You will hear from a number of people this morning. You will hear from legal experts, public defense attorneys, and advocates who are working towards needed reform of the constitutional problems in Michigan's system. And this problem is happening not just here in Detroit, but across towards West Michigan and up towards the Upper Peninsula. So it's my honor to moderate this morning's press conference and introduce you to just a few of the faces of Michigan's public defense crisis. To begin, Robin Dahlberg. Robin Dahlberg is the senior staff attorney with the ACLU Racial Justice Program. She and her team, along with the Campaign for Justice, have led the efforts to research, compile, and publish Faces of Failing Public Defense Systems. Robin is a national expert on this issue, and we are very pleased to have her here today to talk about systemic problems. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, and good morning. Today, we release what we hope will be the first in a series of reports on Michigan's abysmal public defense systems, the state's failure to take responsibility for those systems, and the consequences of that refusal. We present the stories of 13 men. Each is a beloved son, grandson, brother, husband, father, or grandfather. Each was accused of breaking the law. None was appointed a public defense attorney who was provided with the tools necessary to adequately represent him. And each man and his family have suffered grievously as a result. According to the United States Constitution, Michigan must provide indigent persons accused of criminal wrongdoing with public defense attorneys to assist them in their defense. Also, according to the Constitution, these attorneys must have the skills and resources to force the prosecution to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. The very premise of our criminal justice system is that partisan advocacy on both sides of a case will ensure that the innocent go free and that the guilty receive sentences commensurate with the severity of their crimes. Michigan has abdicated its constitutional responsibilities. It delegates its public defense obligations to its counties, but takes no steps to ensure that these counties meet those obligations. As a result, public defense attorneys throughout the state are inadequately trained, poorly supervised, forced to carry excessive workloads, denied access to investigators and experts, and poorly compensated. Under such circumstances, these attorneys cannot put the state's case to the test. The adversarial system breaks down, and as the report released today illustrates, the criminal justice system no longer produces fair and reliable results. In almost every single case profiled in this report, defense counsel did not have the time or the resources to investigate the charges against his or her client, or to prepare adequately for trial. They did not confer with their clients prior to trial. They did not have evidence from the crime scene scientifically analyzed, and they did not ask for or denied access to necessary experts and investigators. In at least 5 cases, witnesses or the police had identified someone else as the perpetrator, yet defense counsel failed to uncover or pursue this information. Right now I'm going to talk about 5 of those, 5 of the profiles, and then after I do that I'm going to introduce the profilees and family members who are here today. Kenneth Womenko was convicted of a rape that he did not commit and sentenced to between 40 and 60 years in prison. His trial attorney was appointed to his case 2 days before his trial began. With so little time, the attorney did not have biological evidence collected at the scene subjected to DNA evidence. 9 years later, when that evidence was finally analyzed, the analysis revealed that Mr. Womenko was innocent. George Carter, who you will meet shortly, was convicted of a rape that he did not commit and sentenced to life without the possibility of parole after a trial that lasted a few hours. His attorney did not ask for or have independently analyzed fingerprint evidence found at the crime scene. When that evidence was analyzed 35 years later, the analysis revealed that Mr. Carter was innocent. Charles Walker's attorney had so little interest in his case that Mr. Walker felt compelled to represent himself, even though at the time he could neither read nor write. He was convicted of robbery and spent 1 year in prison before the Michigan Court of Appeals overturned his conviction. It noted, among other things, the complete lack of evidence against him. Rodney Hubbard was convicted of killing a neighbor over a minor drug debt and sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Police records indicate that 2 confidential informants and a local drug dealer had seen another man commit the crime. Mr. Hubbard's attorney made no independent effort to locate these men. The day before trial, he asked the prosecution for the names of the informants, but the police claimed that they could no longer remember them. Dwight Love, who is also here today, was wrongfully convicted of murder. Although the prosecution's case rested almost exclusively on a friend of the victim's eyewitness identification of Mr. Love, his public defense attorney did not question the friend about the discrepancies between his description of the shooter and Mr. Love. Police records ultimately revealed that many individuals on the street knew that someone else had committed the crime. 12 years later, 12 years after Mr. Love had been convicted and sentenced and sent to prison, his brother located that individual. Mr. Love was exonerated. Some will say that these cases and others profiled in the report are aberrations, unique examples. To these people, I say, you are wrong. In the last 40 years, there have been numerous reports documenting the same deficiencies in Michigan's public defense systems. Later this morning, Dave Moran from the Michigan Innocence Clinic will tell you more about how these are not unique cases, but simply representative of an ongoing and widespread problem. These cases are not examples of rogue lawyers gone bad, but of a bankrupt criminal justice system. We are all complicit. Judges, prosecutors, police departments, legislators, members of the public. We can no longer stand idly by as the lives of our neighbors are destroyed. We should be outraged when defense counsel is appointed 2 days before trial, when an illiterate man is forced to represent himself, when a crack cocaine addict is appointed as defense counsel, as was the case with Mr. Himejian Kensu, who is profiled in our book, when the police claim that they cannot remember the name of their confidential informants.